right, Marcus, good morning. Welcome to the Born or Made podcast here. Looking forward to our conversation today. My first question is, where are you at today?
I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina. To be more specific, I'm actually at my home in Fuquay, Varina, North Carolina. It's about half an hour outside of Raleigh.
Okay, I have officially never heard of that one. So I'm assuming, is it a small town or just a suburb?
Oh, a small town. Oh,
Okay.
it's a suburb, but it's also a really small town on the east side. So basically, I'm about half hour east of Raleigh. You might have heard of this town, Fayetteville.
Oh, yeah.
Where they used to have like Fort. It's now called it's Fort Liberty now. Is what it's called. I don't remember what it used to be called, but it's Fort Liberty. Is that I'm about 45 minutes between Raleigh and Fayetteville.
Interesting. So I read your bio. Great story. So tell me where you started. So you started off in Washington, D.C. as a kid?
Correct.
Kinda take me through that.
I was born in
timeline.
Washington, D.C., and then from there, actually, I lived there my entire life until I got drafted to the NFL. I went to elementary school there, middle school, high school, and college.
Oh, wow. So you were raised by a single dad?
Correct.
And he had
Our
a huge
parents
influence?
divorced when I was 8. And my brother, Jonathan Ogden, who's also an NFL athlete, he's actually in the NFL Hall of Fame, first ballot Hall of Famer. So it was him, Warren Sapp, Larry Allen, Bill Parcells were all first ballot for the 2013 class of the NFL Hall of Fame. So we were raised by a single dad. My parents divorced when I was 8. My brother was 14.
So did you start like Pop Warner, or were you the middle school football player? How did that all start? So your brother's older than you?
Yes, he's so I'm 43 and my brother turns 50 in July. And I turned 44 in November.
So did he inspire you? You saw him playing and you're like, oh, my brother's playing. Okay. And then so you kind of not literally followed, but you did follow your brother's footsteps. So kind of walk me through middle school, high school football. When did you think you were actually going to be any good? Everybody thinks they're going to play NFL until they realize they're not any good, right? So
I'm actually the opposite. I never thought I would ever play in the NFL because I had a really good high school career. And honestly, I thought my career was going to be over after high school. I got 0 scholarship offers until the very end when Howard University, where my dad played college football, came to the door, and my head coach was Steve Wilson, who played for the Dallas Cowboys under Tom Landry and played for the Denver Broncos under Dan Reeves. Steve was my coach. He came to our home. After about half an hour, told my parents, look, we're prepared to offer Marcus a full scholarship to come play football for the Bison. We're going to redshirt him, which means that he is not going to play his first year because it's different today. You can redshirt, play I think it's 6 games and it won't count. But for me, when I was playing, if you touched the field, it counted a full year. So I was promised by my head coach and my line coach, who also was an NFL athlete, Fred Dean, played for the Hogs with Joe Jacoby, Fred Dean, Russ Grimm, George Stark. He was that, Joe Theismann, John Riggins, like he was, and I'm from DC, so I knew who he was being from DC. And we were promised by Fred and by Steve that I would redshirt. And I kind of got mad, but I want to start. I'm going to be great. And so I'm thinking to myself, dude, like, calm down. You got no offers to play college football except one. Calm it down and learn the game. So went to college, went to Howard, didn't play my first year, as we knew. Like, oh, if I become a 2-year player, starter, that's great. It's awesome. I get to school for free. I want to be an investment banker. Well, I became a 4-year starter, and I grew from 6'3" to almost 6'6" between my last year of high school, my first year of college. I got almost 6'6" when I got to Howard, and it was amazing. And I was able to play as a starter for 4 years. I was a 3-time All-Conference, 2-time All-American, and then I had plans to work on Wall Street, and then next thing you know, the NFL comes and it's like, oh, Marcus, we think you could be a great player. And I had all these teams looking at me, the Jaguars, the Colts, the Rams, the Giants, the 49ers, Who else? The Texans came by, the Bengals came by, of course, the Ravens came by. I mean, I think I had at least 16 to 18 teams show interest by coming to Howard, or I met them at the All-Star game. And next thing you know, I'm drafted to the National Football League in 2003 by the Jacksonville Jaguars. And my rookie head coach, he was a rookie head coach, Jack Del Rio.
Really? And so you started in Jacksonville and then you moved around, I think it said to 4 or 5 teams.
4 teams, yep.
In
4 teams in
5 years.
Yep.
In 5 years. Yeah, that's a common theme with a lot of y'all, right? I mean, you think you're going to get with one team for 2 or 3 years. Next thing you know, you're getting moved around. So everybody's positioning themselves for drafts, I guess, basically.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so I played for almost 6 years, and I got caught in some crazy stuff. Now, my first team with Jacksonville, I wanted out because I was not really good at learning how to deal with conflict. That was all my fault. Between my rookie O-line coach, who was awesome, but I didn't do a good job of communicating and how to be a better player and how to work within his frame. So that's all my fault. And then I remember I went to Baltimore. It was great. And then my line coach, Jim Coletto, wanted the OC job. And when they told him no, he left. So that put me into a bad spot. And then in Buffalo, it was great. I was under Mike Mularkey, John Guy, Jim McNally. Things were great. I was there for that year. I went into the second year under Dick Duran and a new regime. And then after that, when my contract was up, I moved on because, again, coaches got changed, front office got changed. So there's a lot of moving parts in playing the NFL. You know, a coach could love you, and from there, he gets shipped out or he's gone, or you go to another organization, and the next thing you know, they are shipped out, or their front office, they move on. I mean, it's so many moving parts, right? And so this is why I tell everybody in the NFL, it stands for not for long, because you could be a great player. And again, there's a lot of great players that can move with salary cap issues, dead money, that's going to hit the cap. You know, I mean, all kind of stuff happens, right? So I tell everybody, you better understand that the game is not going to be the end all. Use the game for what it is, way to make money, build a platform, build a brand, so that when you're done, you're ready to move on.
So what does that do? Like, I bounced around a little bit, well, a lot of bit when I was growing up, you know, through my career. What does that do to you from your psyche? So you find this, like you talked about, the one coach you really connect with. You think you're doing something, and they basically pull the carpet out from underneath you. I mean, this is a maturity process, right? You look back now, I'm sure, and go, well, I wasn't very mature. But then, and you grow through this process. I mean, what does that do to you psychologically during that process to just get moved around?
What it does, it makes you realize that it's a business and that you have to treat it accordingly. And then it is hard because, especially now, I was lucky. I didn't have a family. I wasn't married, no children. But I can see if you're like married, children, kids in school, having to leave and then go to another area, and then from you got to pick up, and then sometimes your kids have to stay behind to finish school, which means your wife stays behind or your significant other, and then you're apart, and then it's travel and this, that, and the other. So if you have a family, it could be really hard to push through. For me, like I said, luckily I did not have a family. So I had like my friends and things like that. I was close, like my brother, my mother, stuff like that. But I wasn't married, no children, things like that. So it was easier for me to get up and move around as need be. But I have a lot of friends that weren't like me, and I could see the toll that it took on them, their family. And unfortunately, that's part of the whole reason why we have such a high divorce rate in the NFL and as coaches, because as coaches, you're at the same time moving around a lot, going through a lot of challenge, a lot of change, a lot of turmoil. And as players, it's the same thing, right? So it makes sense to me why we have such a high divorce rate, because it's so much stress that's being put on us to maintain a lifestyle. And then if our spouses are having difficulty, our children don't like being moved around all the time, they want to stay, then you're living one area, they're living another area. Like all these factors can cause a lot of stress. So yeah, it's really hard. Even though it's part of the business, it's still really hard.
How long did it take you while you were during this process that you realized it was a business? I mean, was it the first year you got shifted around, or did it take you several years? I mean, when did that finally click? Because I understand it's a business, as a person watching the sport, it's a sport, right? But there's all this underlying stuff, and you do hear about these guys moving. I mean, did it take you years, or was it pretty quick?
So for me, honestly, when I got cut from Baltimore because of the coach coming in, not really liking my brother, but knowing you can't touch a Hall of Fame, and I got caught up in it, I realized at that moment it's a business. And luckily, I went to Buffalo after I had a great career in Buffalo, played with some great guys. I played under Jim McNally, who was a Hall of Fame coach. He coached Anthony Munoz. I played with guys like Willis McGahee, Eric Mose, Lee Evans, Brian Scott, to just Laura Malloy, Mark Campbell, just great guys. Ryan Dennehy, Chris Kelsey, like just fantastic guys. So I was very fortunate in that regard. But I learned how much of a business that it really is when that happened. I'm like, wow, I'm up here playing great football, doing well. And because my brother won't be coached by you, but at the end of the day, you're trying to coach somebody that knows the game better than you do, right? And he's been around, because my brother had great coaching from 7th grade through 12th grade. When he got to college, he had 4 different line coaches, but it didn't matter when you're 6'9", 375, and can move like a deer, and you know the game. There's nothing anybody can teach you. I mean, he was taught that for so long. So when that happened to me, it made me realize, wow, this truly is a business. And if you're not on the right side of the line, it can end up costing you money. It can cost you to have to leave a team, try to go to another team. And again, it's a lot. Trying to sign with people, get brought in, go through the process. It's a lot of moving parts. So I learned that it's a business when that was 2005? Yeah, with the Ravens.
So, you hear everybody, these guys that are business guys, they talk about how, it's never personal. It's like, oh, I can separate business. It's personal. I found for me personally, right, that it is personal. Were you able to separate that? Or like when you got cut, I mean, that has to hurt on some level, right? So it is personal. I mean, you're telling yourself it's business, but it's still personal, right?
Yeah, I mean, nobody likes it, and you don't like going through what you have to go through on the other side. But I realized when I left the game that it was all business, right? And don't take anything personal. And that's why I built such a successful construction company after I left the NFL. But unfortunately, because I got so successful, it happened so fast, and it was like a whirlwind, that I wasn't ready to handle all the money, fame, notoriety, women, nightlife, all those things that came my way from making a lot of money. I wasn't ready for it. And because of that, it caused my ego to get really big and get really self-centered on me and on what I wanted and what I needed, what I felt was the most important factor. And just like that, it cost me everything in 2013. But I will say the NFL taught me that at the end of the day, it may hurt, but it's still business. And so I feel when players really treat it as such, they have a longer time and they last more in that regard. I really believe that. But again, it all comes down to how much they're ready, right, to move on to the next phase of life, or move on to another team, another set of teammates, another locker room, which some players can do very well and then others can't.
Okay, so you get out of the NFL. You talked about that, so we'll segue. And so you get out of the NFL and you start a construction company. First of all, why construction? Like you're NFL, you went to college for finance. What drew you to construction? I'm a construction guy, so I get it, but
No, I wasn't. I was drawn by the money. I wanted to make a lot of money. I wanted to be killing it in the business. I wanted to have that same lifestyle. And I thought getting into construction, I could make lots of money. I could be going through, which it is. I was an earthwork contractor. I started off in site work. I'm sorry. I started off in concrete and demolition. Then I advanced to site work, utilities, grading, massive earthwork projects. Ton of money in that business, ton of money. But unfortunately, if you don't know how to handle the money, or if you're not ready to actually bid projects correctly and look at the plans and look at all the different things, the different scopes, and sign your contracts correctly, not let things fall back on you that shouldn't be there. That's what went wrong with me. I made so much money. I had so much success. I was working with a juggernaut GC, and I thought that GC would take care of me no matter what, because I was their minority contractor. And in reality, I tell this to all my clients, every job stands alone, right? Period. Every job that you and or we do stands alone. Like I can go and speak somewhere and do masterfully. I go somewhere else and speak and that goes horrible. That's the last thing people remember. So that's like, for example, right? I have two big jobs coming up at the beginning of May. I sent today to the client different, like kind of like a table of contents for both. Because I'm not going to have a PowerPoint because the guy that hired me said, Marques, just go more natural, which is fine. But I still want to have a framework where I'm going to speak on where I'm in Virginia, which is mainly for their internal team. Then I'm going over to Boston the next day, and I'm talking to like a little bit of their internal team, but mostly about 500 plus of their realty partners. So I'm talking about how to elevate to that group of the realty partners. I'm talking to their internal team about mindset, about delivering customer experience, and how to actually elevate themselves to be a better version of themselves to make Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation better. So it's going to be similar talks, but different, right? But I got both of those approved, basically my outline by the client, and they said, yep, love this, love that. Great. But my point is that now in my work, I don't have an ego. Back then in construction, you couldn't tell me anything. And I was constantly saying, I know this, I know that. And in reality, I didn't know jack.
That's so classic. I mean, I look back at my career like that too. And I remember thinking the same thing, like, I got this. And then reality slaps you in the face. And all of a sudden you realize you didn't know what you didn't know. And that's a very humbling time. So you go through all this, you build this massive company, things start getting south. So tell me about how things got sideways and what perpetuated that. You said ego, obviously probably not paying attention to the details, things like that. You talked about contracts, which I know can be brutal. How did that start spiraling out of control?
So basically, I was working for that general contractor, and there was a snag on the project, and I had to do about $3 million of extra work that was not part of the contract for that client. I was under constant pressure. Hurry up, get it done. Hurry up, get it done. And I'm like, well, can I get a signed change order? Like, Marques, don't worry about that. We'll take care of you. You're fine. You're a minority contractor. The city loves you. And we're under constant pressure. And by the way, if you don't hurry, if you don't move it, we're going to probably call your bond. So I'm like, what am I going to do? So I was like, man, do I just let them call the bond? Or do I take their word, do this extra work, blow all of my cash to finish this project, go into debt, go borrow from a loan shark, take out equity on my home, max out my credit cards, you name it, max out all of my lines. I had AgTran as a supplier, truckers, I had dumpster companies, I had all these different things that I maxed out on, HD Supply, you name it. I maxed out every line of credit I had for our company from a product standpoint. I maxed out all of my cash, gone. I took out a refi on my home twice. And all these things I did and burnt through all of my cash. And then when it was time to get paid back by the developer and the contractor, they denied the change order, said, Marques, thank you very much. Great job. But we are not going to pay your extra work. You don't have a signed contract. It won't stand up in court. Good luck. And that sent me into a Chapter 7 complete bankruptcy. And it's been about 11 years. It was exactly 11 years ago last Monday, April 15th, 2013. I left Baltimore like a thief in the night, owing all kinds of money to creditors, to those supply companies, to my bank, to the loan shark, to everybody. And I moved down to Raleigh with $400 to my name, and that was it.
Wow. So, and how long did that take from start to finish? Like from when you started to
90 days. Once that whole thing started, 90 days, all that money was gone.
So you burned through that much in 90 days?
Yeah. I was on a wage scale job, working downtown. I had sometimes 20 to 30 people working, around the clock, digging, because it was a river underneath the job site. And it wouldn't dry. So I had these sumps and the pumps, and we were going to HT Supply. We were trying to get stone. We were trying to use manpower. We were trying to dig it out. We were trying to seal it. We were trying to cap it. And it just kept leaking, which made it where the concrete contractor, Miller, Long, and Arnold, couldn't lay the foundation to then take it vertical because it kept rising. And we were the earthwork contractor. I had a dewatering contractor that I paid 180 grand to. They did their job. And from there, poof, just nothing ever matriculated. It was absolutely horrific in that regard.
So that takes drowning to a whole new level. Literally. I mean, that's wow. So you go to North Carolina. Like I said, in a thief in the night, you're broke. You got $400. So you are at the bottom. $400 from being to zero. So you got to go through this process. I'm assuming bankruptcy takes months to get done. Chapter 7.
How about this? So when I moved here in April 2013, I was so broke. It took me almost 7 to 8 months to get up enough money to pay the $3,300 that it cost for my bankruptcy attorney to file all the paperwork. And I had 177 creditors on my docket, over $5.5 million of debt. And I'll never forget, I was exposed to all those creditors for that 7 to 8 months because I was so broke. I was so poor. I didn't have enough money, no credit cards, no lines of credit, nothing, no resources, no family, no friends, zero. And it took me that long to pay off that $3,300. So my bankruptcy attorney, the esteemed William Brewer, a Brewer law firm, great guy, could file for me to protect me from all that debt.
So this is a good story. So you're 7 months exposed. So what does that mean?
Yeah.
I mean, your phones are ringing, you're getting nasty grams in the mail. I mean, what are they doing? I mean,
you better believe it. And, my mother and I don't have a great relationship to this day because she got stressed out because they were sending things to her as my resident agent because she's an attorney. I'm like, what are you complaining about? These are just letters that they're sending to you for me. They're coming after me. You know what I mean? They're talking about mortgage in the house. And which, again, here's the funny thing, right? I had nothing. Home was foreclosed on. Both cars repossessed in the same day, right? But I was worried because would they come after my new wages? Would they contact Merrill Lynch, where I was working for about 2 months, not that long, and what? Garnish my wages, right? Every single day. I remember I was ducking the repo man when I first got to life for about 2 weeks. They would call, day, night, night. And then one day I said, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I can't duck them anymore. I said, guys, here's where I'm at. They came, took not one, but both cars off the lot the same day. So I was ducking creditors, those companies like AgTran and HD Supply, Caterpillar, you name it. I was ducking them every which way you could think of. GMC from the cars. We had a car stolen off of our company lot. People were doing break-ins. I owe people salaries, like you name it. I ran, but I was getting phone call after phone call, messages, mails. And then my mom, what she did, which made me mad, gave everybody my address. And from there, they all started mailing things to me. We're coming after this debt. You don't make a call. And I'm sitting there thinking like, man, I've got no money. I've got nothing. But that was my life.
Holy cow. So did you ever have anybody knock on your door at the house?
Yes, I had a creditor. I had a creditor that was a business partner of mine. They literally chased me down, and they were the one company that actually made money off of me. And I remember they kept tracking me, and then I had like a courier show up with a summons to go to court in Baltimore, and I had to do that 3 times within a 6-year period. Luckily, it all got taken care of. But man, that person showing up at one place we were renting. And I remember I got a call from my ex-wife. A creditor came out looking to serve you. I'm like, oh, we talking, man. I mean, we're good. Nope. Came home. Bam. They're right there. Yep. Boom. Here's a summons. See you in court. And it said, if you don't appear in court, the second you'll be housed for jail for. I had to hire an attorney. I had to pay him I had to scrape together like $2,000 to hire an attorney in Baltimore to help me fight. And what they were looking for, they were trying to get from going through me to my brother, who was a multimillionaire in football, to get some sort of money from him.
And he was by no way a partner. He was no partner. He was nothing.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
These guys got
nothing.
Yeah, these guys got real attorneys, and they'll try.
Oh yeah, that came after everything, man. I'm like, what in the world? You know what I mean? Really?
I learned. I had a guy go bankrupt on me, and it was the scariest thing. He had paid me $90,000 the previous 90 days, basically, and I got sued in a clause through bankruptcy attorney called a 90-day clawback, where they come after me as someone who had supplied a product and tried to sue me for that guy's debt.
Oh, it's unreal. I mean, I remember those calls. I remember, the person trying to serve me and finally getting served, and then hiring somebody and going to Baltimore, thinking if I don't show up, I'm going to get put in jail. And I mean, I remember that like it was yesterday. That's why I'm so successful and so fortunate now, but I'll never forget where I came from. I'll never forget those phone calls and ducking people, trying to just, make a buck or two to kind of take care of this, take care of that, while I'm taking care of a family and trying to live life and trying to build a business and trying to make something of myself, and the whole time fighting my passion. I trusted the wrong contractor, and it cost me. And that was my error. But I was trying to fix it, but I constantly was just running into people trying to take blood from me or get this from me. And so today, what I do, I remember those days. I'm like, you know what? Didn't have the best day? That's okay. Remember that time we were getting phone calls from creditors, and that's what happened to me. That's how I lost everything the first time. Is I remember it was Christmas Eve, and it was like the bank was meeting. Howard Bank was meeting to decide they were going to extend me money to take care of the debt, or shut my line down and call it in and call everything off and shut me down. The phone rang at like 8:30 at night, right? A couple days before Christmas. And I remember my business partner who helped me get in with the bank saying, Marques, it's over. The bank is going to shut down everything. Your money is going to be gone. They're going to come after everything they can to get their money back, and you are out of business. It's over. And that was December of 2012. Never will I forget that phone call that, again, it was like maybe 3 or 4 days from Christmas, give or take. And that was my life. That's what I was going through. So if you're listening to this and you're struggling, or you're trying to get over, or you're trying to get to the next level, you just have to remember, you can do it. Will it be hard? Yep. Will it be long nights? That's why my first book is called Sleepless Nights. I constantly had no sleep for so long. And that's what it was.
So, and it's all based on that story, basically.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Wow. So you get through all this, you're going to, I mean, obviously you're now bottom. So I read through your bio, and now you're working at a school as a janitor. So you were at Merrill Lynch for a couple of months.
Not at school. I was working in downtown Raleigh in mixed use buildings as a janitor. That's correct. That's after I was fired from Merrill Lynch, and I was fired from a construction company. I took a job as a custodian working in downtown Raleigh for $8.25 per hour.
So how long did you do that? And then, so you're at rock bottom. You got to feel terrible. I mean, I imagine your confidence level was through the floor. Tell me about how you got through that and what brought you through the other side.
So my confidence level was bad, but it wasn't my rock bottom moment until I had some nice trash, rotten meat, nasty, protruding, horrible smelling garbage all over me. And that was my wake up call. And in that moment, I said, wow, if I don't turn this around, I'm going to be here for the rest of my life. Always wanting, always hoping, always wishing for something better. So that moment is when I said to myself, okay, God, here, and it is my lowest point. And yes, please tell me or show me what to do. And he said, Marques, basically, go back to the beginning, what you do well. You're a good storyteller. You are a good communicator. You want to help people. Let's get going from there. And that was the beginning of me turning it around. I said, I'm going to be a speaker. That sounds great. Let's go. Started speaking in September 2013. Didn't get a paid job until April 2016. Got coached in 2018. And it's actually been 8 years this month since our first paid job. We've worked for over 60 Fortune 500 companies as a speaker. I'm a business coach. I'm a consultant. I'm a podcast host. I'm a brand ambassador. I help people with everything else. I speak on mindset, how to elevate, how to crush limiting beliefs, leadership, culture enhancement, you name it, we can bring it to the table. But again, I'm also a guy that had to go through a divorce. I filed for divorce from my ex. It was July 2022, so it hasn't even been 2 years. Had to stay in the house with her after finding out some really alarming information. Stay in the house, and then I had to move out. I'm going to have to move out. After everything I found out, I had to move out into a 2-bedroom, crappy, broke down, furnished apartment. I needed a place for my 9-year-old to have a room. Moved in there for 7.5 months. I was depressed. I was feeling dark. I was feeling like a failure. Finally, January 23, I said, enough's enough. Went through what I wanted to get through, got through all the BS, figured out I do really, really well, and got myself back on track. Bought my dream home 11 months ago. It'll be a year in May of this year. Bought my dream home, turned things around, got out of debt, have a great business, have great people around me. I have great partnerships. We're building some things that are really special. And again, if you're listening to this, remember these 4 V's. You have to visualize what you want. You have to vocalize that you are good enough. You have to vote and do something positive every single day towards your goal. And you have to have vicinity of good people around you, Great people will elevate you. Bad people will take you right down to the depths of hell. It's on you. Choose wisely. And those 4 B's lead you to victory. And that's where I'm at now with speaking, coaching, consulting. I've been through hell. No money, no credit cards, ducking, all kinds of creditors, having to get served and show up in freaking court, like for people who want to sue you for $1 million. I mean, I had no money, right? All these things to get where I'm at now. So again, if you're listening, you too can be great, but it takes you to say, I can do this and let's move forward.
Wow. So when did you write the book?
I've written 4 books. First book was October 2015. Success Cycle was published in January 2020. And I co-authored 2 other books as well.
Wow. So you've done 4 books. And have they gotten easier as you've done that writing on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And
Absolutely.
so do you use those books a lot when you're doing your speaking and stuff like that?
Oh, yeah. So like the Success Cycle is 3 keys to build success in your life: ambition, drive, and hard work. And I tell people all the time, if you want to elevate in your life, strive to thrive. You do that through evolution, like always being forward thinking, movement, don't sit around, don't wait, nothing's just going to fall on your freaking lap, and then be dynamic. It takes the same energy to be average as it does to be great. It takes the same energy to dream big or dream small. Go after it. Don't waste your time being non-dynamic. It's going to reflect poorly on you.
Wow. So now you're speaking all over the United States. You're getting paid.
Yep.
So going back, so you said you basically went 3 years speaking and never got paid?
2.5.
2.5.
30 months. Never got, it was all free.
Wow. So how did you keep that motivation? What was that just kept you focused?
I just kept going. I said, I've got something here. Eventually it will turn, but you just got to keep going. You got to keep pressing. And that's what I did. And I finally got my first paid job. Miller Mott was a college that had me speak at their 100th commencement graduation speech in Wilmington, North Carolina. And that was my first paid job for $1,500. And I remember not knowing how to ask for payment. If I didn't get paid for that job at that time, I would have probably not made it home for gas because I was basically tapped out in my account. And they said, Marques, under your chair is a shirt, a Miller Mott mug, a little gift, and your check for $1,500. Thank you for being here. I'm like, oh my God, thank you.
And you have to act.
I didn't know how to ask.
Yeah, so you have to act like it's no big deal, and you're just happy you're going to be able to get home.
Hell yes. And my first talk was absolutely horrific. I'm going to tell this to your people, right? Great quote by the 19th President of the United States, Rutherford B. Hayes. Every expert was once a beginner. Every expert was a beginner, right? I have a conference coming up in Boston about elevate, how to elevate. And the 3 themes are mindset, brand, business. I'm going to open up with this question to the group. Is everybody in this room ready to elevate? Yes? Great. Here's how we're going to do it. You elevate through these 3 things. You focus, you lock in, and you attack. You focus on what you want. Don't focus on too many things. You focus on too many things, nothing gets done. Then you have to lock in. When you know what you want, create your target around it, and then tune everything else out and lock in and then attack. Action is the foundation of success. I don't care who you are, especially in real estate as a realtor, because so many people want to do it, right? Oh, I'm going to get my realtor. I'm going to get my realtor. I don't want to touch being a realtor. I don't want to touch it because there's so many people in it. So again, it's all about, if you want to elevate, you got to focus, you got to lock in, you got to attack. I'm going to say you got to strive to thrive, evolution, movement, dynamic. Then get into my story and talk about how mindset will get you there. Because again, at the end of the day, life is not linear.
Wow.
It's not going to be easy. You got to go for broke.
Yeah, wow. I'm all excited just listening to you talk all this time. Now I got to go out and do something. So finalizing everything is, our podcast is called the Born or Made Podcast. This is an incredible story. You've gone from a kid in DC all the way to now you're a public speaker with this incredible story in between. The final question always is do you feel like you were born or do you feel like you were made to be where you are today?
Oh, made. Oh, there's no doubt about it. Made. Like, was I born with the gift to talk and be a good listener? Yes. But being born with something, it's a talent. I tell people all the time, mindset, mentally invested, never ending determination, sets, SETS, expanding talents. Your question goes back to talent. And was I born or made? Yes, I had God-given talent to speak, to educate, to inspire. But without the training, without going through all the crap, without the life lessons, without going broke, being bankrupt, losing my home, getting divorced, living in an apartment, eating out of food pantries, you name it. Without that, who I am today wouldn't be as good as a speaker. Why? I'd be doing what? Doing what everybody else does. But a lot of people do for that regard. Giving you things about others or giving you kind of knowledge and like information with no stories of like, well, who the hell are you? So again, I've been made to do this. Like I had to work my butt off to get to this point. So if you're listening, I hope people answer that they're made because being born is great. That's awesome. But if you want to be great, in my opinion, you got to make yourself, right? Nobody made me who I am today. I've worked on it. I have people around me, and I've gotten better at my craft every single day. Period.
Wow. Yeah, that's a great answer. Thank you very much. That's a great way to end it, Marques. Thank you very much for your time today. Hope continued success to you. That is literally one of the best stories I've ever heard. I've heard a lot of good ones, and boy, the creditor thing is going to haunt me for a while. Listening to what you must have went through for all those years or months of just getting those people calling.
Years.
Yeah,
and
years.
Then thinking that it's over, right? And then what? Going to court in Baltimore, paying somebody that made millions of dollars off of me wants to take me to court for $700,000. I'm like, yo, we had a partnership. Like, y'all make money off of me. Like, what are we doing here? Like, the bank didn't come after me. The credit's like, the one company that made money off me, y'all coming after me? Really? So again, that's being made. Because you know what? I could say, you know what, man? Just take me to jail for a week or whatever you want to do. I'm done. Or fight my ass off and it's like, pay money to pay that lawyer. Work extra hours, training more kids to get enough to take care of that. All these things, even through my divorce, man, I said, I'm divorced. That's not what I planned on. I didn't plan on getting divorced. But you know what? It happened. Here I am. And I'm trying to do what? Move on with my life, date people, find somebody that's going to be able to connect with me. Because at the end of the day, right, that's what it's about. We're made through our experiences. That's what makes us who we are. Plain and simple. And with that.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for your time, Marques. I really enjoyed that. Appreciate it very much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you again. Bye-bye now.